HBCU Overdrive. I'm your boy Doc Holiday. And as always, we're about to get into these announcements like it's church. Amen. Amen. Again, as usual, I'm doing interviews. I have a couple of interviews coming up this week. If you want to get an interview done by me, just send me your info to the link below. Again, if you want to send me your info, send it to the link below. And also, like I said, with Friday Flowers, you know somebody to nominate. You can also hit me up on Facebook at David E. Smith Douglas, and tell me who you want to nominate as your nomination as your Friday Flowers presentee. Again, everything else in the link in the description below. So I also am going to be still continue doing my top 20 HBCU marching bands this year, 2022. We're at number 19, and I'll show you who number 19 is on the next show. But anyway, let's get into what's going on. What's the big word going on right around town? So, as y'all know, yesterday I did my show about the XFL coming to Jackson State to have the showcase, basically for the HBCU players that did not get drafted into the NFL or CFL or USFL this past season, and they're trying to make their bones into the XFL. So while during the time of the showcase, Coach Prime was interviewed by ESPN's Jay Harris. Basically, Jay asked Coach Prime as far as about what's going on with conference realignment and if what his takes on it. And Coach Prime basically said, like, look, we're trying to get our stuff in order. So basically, we want to try to move up. I mean, that's his whole thing. That's the whole deal. That's what you want to do, try to move up, which I don't have no problem with. I don't have a problem with moving up, but my whole thing is try to get everything in order. You want to be prepared. You want to be prepared whenever you move up to something like that, because it's not an easy thing to do as far as moving up to FBS. And all the talk is basically about football. This has nothing to do with basketball or anything like that, because mostly every school that you think of right now is a Division I school when it comes to basketball. So that's not what we're talking about. They're basically talking about football. And so my whole thing is on that is basically make sure that you got everything in order. You want to make sure that you are doing your due diligence to get either A, your school, or B, the whole conference in order to make such a move. So, as far as the benefits go with moving up to FBS, basically, is you get more money. Depending on what conference that you go to. So you want to make sure that you go to a conference that's going to divvy out enough money for you to fund all your athletics. And remember, you want to make sure that all your non-revenue sports are generating some sort of money, or you putting some sort of money into it so it can begin generating money. Most of the time when it comes to a non-revenue sport would be more like bowling. That's not a revenue sport. Baseball, it is a revenue sport per se, but we're talking about the main sports that generates the revenue, which is football and basketball. Football and basketball are the kings of your school. Kings and queens of your school. Football and basketball. So let's just get that out the way. To me, the cons of moving up, and I've seen this with a couple of schools, and one school in particular I can say for myself would be the University of North Texas. At the time before they moved up, they were North Texas State University. They was in the old Southland Conference. So we're talking about Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, Lamar. We're talking about at that time back then that was ULM, Louisiana Lafayette, McNeese, all of those schools right there. That was in that's the Southland Conference right there. So when UNT made that jump to FBS, one of the things that they had to do was they had to upgrade the facilities. So it's not as hard to upgrade the facilities if you have any type of funding, any type of donations that's privately or publicly. It's not as hard to do. But at the time, we're talking about in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s when they made the jump. They didn't have a chance. They had to basically upgrade Fouts Field, which is basically almost like a high school football stadium at the time. They had to upgrade it to meet the requirements for them to even join. You had to have an attendance of at least 15. At the time, it was 25. It was like at least 25,000. But I guess NCAA kind of lowered the attendance number to 15,000. So basically, that's what you have to do in order for you to get that. And you have to do that on a 2-year rotation. Also, like I said, you have to make sure that all your non-revenue sports get funded. You also have to make sure that you have more women's sports than men's sports, because what's the thing you have is Title IX. Title IX says that women's sports, women's sports should be equal as to men's sports, or should be a little bit more. So you have to make sure that you have those sports come into play. If not, you're not getting in. You're not getting into the party. But when UNT went to FBS, it took them a while. It took them a while to make sure to even field a winning team. They didn't start fielding a winning team until probably like 2001, 2002. I know that team per se, and it was a good team, you know what I'm saying? So when they fielded that team, they were good, and then they went back into irrelevancy for a while, and then they came back once they moved from one conference to Conference USA. When they moved to Conference USA, I feel like they kind of was going up and down, back and forth, but they managed to survive. You're also looking at other schools that went from FCS to FBS and they struggled. Let's get it. They struggled. We talk about, let's talk about the Georgia State program. They didn't even have a football team. Let's get this straight. They didn't have a football team, and they went to FBS. It took them so long to even get, to be competitive when it came to football. Basketball was all right because they played in, I think it was the Atlantic Sun, but they were actually good. The football team was not as good. And when, just got off another show where I had to explain to the caller, to the host, like, hey, it don't matter what you put out there on the field. It don't matter what you put out there on the field. If you don't have the funding, if you don't have the revenue to basically keep up with the Joneses, you're not going to survive. You're not. And if you want to go, let's go with an example. You go with Savannah State. Savannah State moved up to, they went from an independent and moved into the MEAC. Savannah State was never, in football, they were never relevant in football. They learned their lesson and they moved back down to Division II. They're in the SIAC. And they have a little bit more success in the SIAC than they had in the MEAC. So we're talking about the haves and the have-nots when it comes to the revenue from jumping from FCS to FBS. Everybody wants to talk about North Dakota State. Well, they operate a FBS budget and they're in an FCS conference. They're basically the model everybody's looking at because of the past, what they've been doing as far as in football, having 10 national championships in football in the last probably like 15 years. Come on now. Come on. But they are comfortable with where they at. Who is going to go to North Dakota State as far as if they do go FBS? Who's going to go there? Who are they going to bring with them? You know what I'm saying? What conference are they going to go to? Because if they go to the Big Ten, you might well go ahead and hang that up. They ain't going nowhere. So if you're going to do something like that, they have to move up their whole conference. They have to move the whole conference up to make sure that they match everything that all the other schools in FBS are doing. So, like I said, now you have James Madison, you have Sam Houston moving up to FBS. You also have Jacksonville State moving up to FBS. You have Tarleton State moving from Division II to FCS. You have Texas A&M Commerce moving up from Division II to go to an FCS. You have, let's take for example a little smaller school. You have Edward Waters University going from an NAIA to Division II in NCAA. So these schools are actually doing their due diligence. It's not like they're not being dumb about it or anything like that. They're doing what they're supposed to do to make sure that they are sustainable in the future, and also that they are able to compete when they move up to these new conferences. So, my whole thing is, I ask myself and I ask other people, what do the SWAC have to do to move up? If they want to move up, what does the SWAC have to do? So, I've already, everybody know I'm a Jackson State guy. I've already seen with Jackson State, basically with the renovations of the athletic center, the basketball arena, some of the stuff that's over at the football stadium, with the baseball field, soccer field. They could improve that. I think they're going to do some renovations on the track, get out, a new track field for the track athletes and stuff like that. But my whole thing is, what is everybody else doing? Because if we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we be able to move up, if we want to move up to another conference, to get the invite to move up to a conference, let's not forget, you have to get invited to move up to a conference. You had to get the invite. You just don't move up also nilly-willy. You got to have the invite to move up to a conference, to a new conference. So, you know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is, what is Southern going to do? What is Grambling going to do? What is Texas Southern? What is Prairie View? What is Alabama A&M? What is Alabama State? Bethune, FAMU, Pine Bluff, Valley, Alcorn. What are these schools going to do? What are they doing to make sure that their infrastructure is A1. I mean, the only thing is I can only speak, I can only speak for Jackson State, but I don't know about everybody else. If anybody else is doing their due diligence to try to get themselves on the up and up, let me know. Put it in the comment. But I can only speak for my school, Jackson State. So you have to understand, like, this is something that you cannot, this is something that is so serious. Like, if you're not going to be able to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Relevant when you're playing football. If you're not going to be a winning team playing football, what was the move? What was, other than finances, what was the other move while you moved up? You gotta take the pros with the con. So I'm more basically forming a super conference with the MEAC, see what we can do in the FCS. If we could dominate the FCS, hey, if they want, NCAA want to invite some schools to move up, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? We can do that. But I always say we gotta make sure we take care of home first. And whoever say we need to go to the SEC, no, stop dreaming. Stop dreaming. We would get dogged by Vanderbilt in the SEC. Come on now. Let's not go there. I want us to move up, but I want us to be able to do it in a very intelligent way, financially and with the infrastructure, in play. So, I mean, like, that would be, my thing about as far as conference realignment. To me, I feel like it's, like I said in my last show, it's the wild, wild west when it comes to a conference realignment. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But again, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna go ahead and end this show right now. Like I said, interviews, Friday Flowers, top 20 marching bands for 2022. Doing all that this week. Got interviews this week, something like that. Still working on getting my media group together, getting the LSC going out the way. Don't know when that's gonna go ahead and happen, but I'm working on it. Like I said, you can catch me on Twitter, HBCU_overdrive. You can catch me on Instagram now. Now you can catch me on Instagram, HBCU_overdrive on Instagram. And if you want to help donate to the channel to help improve the channel and get better stuff, anything like that, CashApp $holiday 1925. All the links, whatever, descriptions down below. I want to go ahead and give my shout outs. To, of course, my wife. Without her, I wouldn't, being my guiding light and, my rock and basically my biggest cheerleader. I am so appreciative of that. Give a shout out also to my kids. So, all my kids and everything. I'm blessed to have them in my life and everything. I give a shout out to, even though it's turned the wrong way, I give that shout out to Alpha Phi Omega, National Service Fraternity Incorporated, Spring 06, Doc Holliday, Skeet. Give a shout out to, I'll give a shout out, really not a shout out, like I said, I'm gonna give my condolences to the family of Rashard Anderson. former JSU great back in the day, in the 90s. Man, you rest up, bro, till we meet again. But again, my name is Doc Holiday. This is another HBCU Overdrive, and as always, peace.